You can't believe everything you see or hear, can you? You and I have an insatiable appetite for electricity. Come with me and we'll look at the issues relative to wind farms and the communities that they serve. This is the Windfarm Guy. Hi, this is Dennis Stout, and thank you for joining me for this episode of the Windfarm Guy. Edgar Allan Poe once said, "Believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear." When it comes to wind farms, that can be pretty close to the truth. Much of this Windfarm Guy video deals with misinformation and is my opinion based on my own observation. May I be honest here, there are two forces at work when it comes to wind farms. First, there are those in favor of it. They are the ones who have something to gain when it is built. Second, on the other side, are those who are against it and have something to gain if it is not built. Let's look at these two separately, considering who they are and what they do. First, the list of people who are in favor of a wind farm includes the wind company, of course, the involved landowners, and usually the taxing entities, like the county, schools, hospitals, fire departments, and such. It also includes the folks that are environment friendly and want to see a healthier planet. Property rights advocates are usually on that list too, because they believe it is the landowner's right to have a turbine if they want one, and not have one if they don't. To be sure, this first group may be wind friendly, but when they find a wind industry attribute that is not good, they can help in improving it. Rather than disallowing turbines, this group can be instrumental in affecting change. So any problems are lessened and the industry continues to get better. This is typically the larger of the two groups and tends to gather information from reputable scientific studies and notable institutions. They want to find the truth, whatever it is, then make their decisions based on those findings. Rural America is hurting today. Many rural folks can't make it anymore and move to urban areas, leaving the rural tax base to suffer. That reduction in taxes hurts all those remaining local taxing entities, including the schools. Once schools suffer, more folks leave the area for their children's sake, and the cycle is repeated. This first group generally would like to add a new passive revenue stream to their tax base, so they and the area as a whole are in a better situation tomorrow. That is one of the things I love about the wind industry. To a large degree, wind farms are saving rural America because the revenue infusion to those areas that need it the most. Let me tell you who is typically not on that first list. People who want things to stay just the way they are. No change. Folks, change is always a little difficult, and by nature, people are change averse. But that doesn't mean there shouldn't be change. Those who battled interstate highways, cell phones, and other technology may have fought them valiantly at the time, but they still get to enjoy those benefits today. Now, this list of people who are not in favor of a wind farm may also include some local power brokers, be them official or unofficial, some of the fossil fuel companies also, and a plethora of other naysayers. By local power brokers, I mean large landowners and influential people. They could even be the area patriarch or matriarch. In many areas, these guys are used to getting their own way and can even bully other folks so they continue to get their way. I've seen it firsthand. Now, this is a gross overstatement and is not true of everywhere, but this happens way more often than any of us want to admit. I once worked on a project where the largest landowner was in a continuous land grab, even doing some unsavory things to acquire property. Guess what? He was also against some incoming wind farms. Personally, I believe he was against them because failed farms and failed communities spell opportunity for him. As the saying goes, follow the money. This person stood to gain much in this depressed situation. His desire was to buy more land, and by limiting area revenue, he could do it more cheaply, and other farms would be more likely to fail. creating opportunities for him. In the aforementioned project, there was also a small community that was in steady decline. They had lost their school, and most businesses had little income, struggled to pay their bills, and had major infrastructure problems that required expensive solutions. These powerful landowners, who had nothing to do with this little community and didn't even live there, convinced the community leaders to push the project away, and with it, the revenue that literally would have saved the community. Now that community's future is pretty much set, because opportunities like this don't come to small towns off the beaten path very often. So in this situation, the property owners lost, and those power brokers won. It has been my observation that this second group tends to lean on weak arguments, gossip, and even fear-mongering. If a study is referenced by them, it often is a vague or non-verifiable source. While the first group will drive a few minutes to stand near a turbine and form their own opinion about how it sounds or looks, the second group generally won't put forth that effort even to drive a few short minutes. And they tend to rely on hearsay to form their opinion. It is the classic attitude of, "Don't bother me with the facts, my mind's made up." I say these next two examples very hesitantly. I am a fan of farmers and respect them greatly. However, I don't like bullies. Some landowners say, "I don't want to look at a wind turbine," while they themselves build huge grain bins that others have to look at. Or they may say, "I don't want to hear them," while their tractors, semi-trucks, and grain dryers dump volumes of decibels of sound onto their neighbors. Are you catching that? They want to control what other property owners do on their property just because of their opinion, while they do what they want regardless of the opinion of their neighbors. Unfortunately, renewable energy has become a political thing today. It didn't used to be this way. As I've mentioned before, I grew up in the oil patch of the Permian Basin in West Texas and believe that there is room and need for both fossil energies and renewable energies. It shouldn't be a left versus right thing at all. A wise energy strategy, in my opinion, is an all-the-above strategy. And local wind farm considerations should not be divisive. I've seen lifelong friendships end based on one being pro-wind and the naysayer ending the relationship. Folks, that shouldn't be. And if I may say so, grow up and let's have adult conversations. If you like what we've discussed today, please click like and subscribe below. If you have thoughts or want me to address a particular topic relative to wind farms, please also leave me a comment. The first group wants wind turbines to get better and therefore the industry to get better, while the second group wants to disallow them and even end the industry altogether. I've learned through my 60-plus years that absolute boycotts like this usually are the result of a lack of information and even bullying, while the desire for improvement is the result of open-minded and critical thinking. There are two very different sets of questions asked here. The first group asks, how can we take advantage of this opportunity? What is best for our area? How can we make the industry better for all of us? While the second group asks, how can I get my way? How can we stop this altogether? And even, how can I stop this in other areas? Let me encourage you to use your gray matter. Yes, how about some critical thinking here? Think for yourself and ask yourself if a claim sounds reasonable. Ask, who is gaining what? Who is going to be hurt? Does that argument make any sense? Does it even mesh with what you learned in your science classes back in grade school or high school? Yes, some of the naysayers' arguments are pretty silly and petty. Let's be adults. Work for the betterment of the area and of the U.S. We have a lot to gain by having a healthy and strong energy mix. This is Dennis Stout, and I'm the Windfarm Guy. Thank you for watching. Working together, we can make good energy decisions and save our planet. I am the Windfarm Guy.